The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
It's pretty fun when things go full circle here on PTR TV, and we find ourselves in that point here today. This is a track that, well, it was the first track we ever covered with Elbows Out, and if you remember, there was a pink Audi that went flying that time. It was a nice, dreary, very typical spa day, and a pink Audi went flying, but if you told me back then, all those months ago, that I would form a great set of friendship, a great working relationship with this league, and this would become my favorite thing to do on a Wednesday night, I probably would have believed you, because I knew then that this league was something special, and it's been so great to watch things develop. It was a 90-minute race then. It's a 90-minute race now. Welcome, everyone, to Elbows Out Racing League here for this 90-minute edition, 90-minute rendition here of this race. We are in for the 90 minutes here. This is going to be, again, brought to you as always by International Decorators Incorporated. Check out 4idi.com. But this race here today is going to be titled as following. Everyone goes home in the same condition they arrived, 90. That is, of course, the motto. That is the standard that International Decorators holds themselves to, is that every worker that they show up goes home in the same condition they showed up in. And that is something that they practice day in, day out. We'll see if drivers practice that here today. We'll see if anyone has to use a fast repair anywhere. We'll see if anyone has to do anything wild or crazy here as we let these practice results scroll through, as the last few drivers are getting in their times here in the in the qualifying session. Actually, not a practice session, but qualifying session is here and going. It's myself, Brad, here in the booth, as always on a Wednesday night, joined by Patrick. Patrick, good evening, my friend. As always, how are you?
I am doing absolutely fantastic, Brad. It is a beautiful racing series and a beautiful track with some very beautiful cars racing for 90 minutes here. This is going to be such an enjoyable race here today.
This is going to be a lot of fun. Now, I know you weren't with us for the first time we covered 90 minutes of Spa, but I'm sure you've seen the clips as I'm being corrected in the background that it was a McLaren, not an Audi that wrecked, even though I very clearly remember a pink Audi being involved. But that's a YouTube short. If you want to go check it out, there's a YouTube short out there that will tell you what that was, and you can correct me as appropriate. I'm sure somebody already has and will, as I watch everyone in the YouTube chat. Great to have everyone along with us here. 90 minutes tonight instead of 60 minutes, Patrick. We get that extra 30 minutes of action, and we've already been told it's going to change up strategy a bit. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's still basically like you're going 1.5 times race distance as opposed to just a regular distance. So there's obviously going to be some strategy involved. You're going to burn more fuel. You're going to go through more tires. And I know that there's talks about the LMP2 cars potentially doing a two-stop strategy here tonight at this race. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes as our starting grid is pulled up.
Starting grid here on the night as it stands, and it is Cody Peredato who is going to be running up in the top in LMP2 with Antonio Costa running just alongside there. Eric Mack, it's return of the Mack into third place here. We'll see if I can't commentate or curse Eric Mack through the night. Cameron Dick, Malik Bass, and Kel Hagen In 6th, Aiden Garcia, Hugo Ortiz, Randy Kinney, and Bob Carey, your 10 LMP2s taking things on. We go to GT3 Pro here as they come through. We'll split out them in their own class. Chris Stewart, Paul Nye Sr., the only pro that doesn't have a P next to his name except for P6 there. Tyler Stenick, Peter Nodwell, Rich Calais, Julius Mashevsky, and then from there it is Zachary Nerney, Colin Bourdon, Martin Merkva, Jordan Scarrett, Joel Bandera, and Mike Sermon there, who will be rounding things out with Brian Medderly and Emily Milkey, the 14 GT3 pros. Now, GT3 AMs, Parker Chiapuzzo, Christopher Ondera, Nathan Hipperly, Christian Cardona, Jonathan Lanton, Maxwell Woodman C. From there, Seth Vossman, Shea Perkins, Dayton McGuire, David Moore, Benjamin Bechtel, Graham Lewis, Daniel Pinero, Jake Glazer, Ethan Murphy, Matthew Santosiero, Tyler C., Dwight Hibbs, Philip Kaiser, and Ryan Geckler. Your 20 GT3 AMs taking on the field. And we'll make sure that everyone gets plenty of love and plenty of track time, or plenty of time as they go along here and go through. Let's get this pace lap underway here, moving and grooving as we go through. As is tradition, the LMP2s will take off, and then the GT3s will follow about 5 seconds behind.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting race start because going into turn 1, known as La Source, is such a sharp corner. It is a very sharp hairpin, and then you go through the world famous Air Rouge, Radion, and then onto the Kennel Straight. So, I mean, there's going to be some overtaking opportunities because these LMP2 cars do generate quite a bit of downforce, but we'll see if anyone is really gutsy enough to try to make the move through Air Rouge or through Radion, because it's a high-speed section for a good portion of this track here. 4.35 miles around, 7.004 kilometers. This is going to be so much fun to watch. And it's really fun to drive, pretty much regardless of what car you actually drive in. Whether you drive in a LMP2, in a GT3, in a prototype, Formula 1, Super Formula, you name it. It's a fun track to drive regardless.
That it is, and one thing that we are going to work on throughout this broadcast is we will get the pronunciations down for you, Patrick. You got to get that. You got to get that pronunciation in here. Lacombe, Bruxelles, Pouhon, Campus, Stavelot, Blanchimont, El Rouge, Radion, the Kennel Straight, and La Sauce. We'll get the pronunciations here around Spa as we go through. But nevertheless, if you want to join this league, I was asked to shout this out. If you want to join this league, they are looking for more LMP2 drivers. So if you like LMP2, that would be a good thing to do as we're waiting here. Cody Peridotto will get us underway very, very quickly, get us running, get us moving, get us grooving, come across the line, and we'll actually come through La Sauce first before they get going. So the endurance layout, you enter the pits well back, but the start finish line for the race start is actually past turn 1. So we'll get through La Sauce and then we will get going here as we come through. There it is, green flag is out, and we are going to be underway for 90 minutes of racing, and this will give us the run up to Eau Rouge Radion. But for Chris Stewart, it's going to be an interesting situation. Cody Peridotto gets going here. Antonio Costa will bring things through, and then that is going to open things up very quickly back here with the GT3 Pro and AM LMP2 making their way up the hill for the first time, and everyone in LMP2 very clean as they'll head down the Kimmel Straight. This is where I get nervous though. This GT3 run is Tyler Stanek and Paul Nye very quickly battling it out as we continue to watch the rest of the GT3s come through. GT3 AMs, and they're just on the hill. That is going to be Parker Chiapuzzo. This is Mike Sermon who's involved in that.
No!
It's a repeat of Spa round 1.
While IDI practices the safety measures required to make sure everybody goes home in the same condition that they arrived, trying to do that in a GT3 car around Spa is way easier said than done. That is just so heartbreaking for these drivers.
So many drivers involved in that, and we are going to go
breaking for these drivers.
We're going to go really quickly. Let's queue up the PTR TV replay here and get this replay up and going while we can. And we'll get this replay queued up. Apologies for just a second, ladies and gentlemen, as things get crazy. So it started with Mike Sermon here snapping around. That is where things went. And Mike Sermon came over, I believe caught Emily Milky in the mix as well. So Emily here was caught out, and Emily is the one who goes sliding in that very milky paint scheme, I have to say, and bounces off the wall back onto the track. And then Emily just gets kind of collected there. Randy Kinney, I believe, got involved in this as well. Randy actually started from the pit lane in LMP2 in that Sonic paint scheme. A lot of Sonic paint schemes being shown love. And, well, Randy there just kind of staying wide, avoiding, and very slowly staying out of the way of that one. Parker Chiapuzzo, what happened to Parker? Well, Parker was the McLaren who went to dive off. Philip Keyser here. We hop on board with, and you can see what Philip saw. Oh, that's a hit. Yeah,
I think there's definitely a lot of damage on that Porsche. It might be even front right puncture or suspension damage. So yeah, I mean, very unfortunate there. I mean, sometimes accidents just happen, especially when you're trying to go flat out through a Rouge and Radeon. It's super tricky in these cars because you're gonna have a good amount of understeer. And you can just lose traction sometimes when you go through that corner that fast in these GT3 cars. It happens sometimes, but it still is very unfortunate.
Indeed. Let's get this thing back to live pictures now. I don't think we've missed anything else here going through that we needed to see, but we are live pictures. We are on board with the race leader, Cody Perodato, but meanwhile, Cody Perodato already has pressure from Antonio Costa behind by a good little margin here, and just keep your eye on that as it continues through, because Antonio Costa is a quick driver to keep your eye on. Meanwhile, back GT3 Pro. This is your battle for GT3 Pro. 3 cars very quickly battling it out. Stuart Nye and Tyler Stenick that will battle things out as they go. I mean, this GT3 battle is going to be one to watch through this race.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a good track for battling too, because you have quite a few moments as Tyler Stenick has got a very good view of this battle going up just on ahead. It is Chris Stewart and Paul Nye Sr. battling it out tooth and nail with Tyler Stenick just directly behind. So Paul Nye Sr. trying to get the move done in that Coke Zero Mercedes AMG GT3. But Chris Stewart in that McLaren is going to hold him out. But you got to give it to Paul Nye, the donut guy. He is not giving an inch, but an inch, I believe, it was just taken from him by Tyler Stenick. And now it went from one black and neon car that he was battling with to another. And Paul Nye is pretty much in a sandwich here in between Chris Stewart and Tyler Stenick, running very similar liveries on 2 completely separate cars. Is Paul Nye going to send it up here through the bus stop chicane? No, he does not, but he's not giving an inch either to Tyler Stenick behind. A very clean battle, but now Paul Nye Sr. might have the run going through La Sauce, as you said it earlier. We'll see if he can make the move here.
Coming around the outside here of La Sauce and coming around, and he's going to take the wide way around in that Coke Zero. Oh, that's some contact and a front bumper gone from Paul Nye, the donut guy. Let's see how that affects him up through El Rouge and Rayon. Hold on to it as he goes side by side up the hill. They're going to bring it, and it looks like for the moment, GT3. Oh, big wreck in the background. That was Stenick. That was Stenick hard off.
Yeah, he must have just lost it there. A little bit of that dirty air going through Radeon and Air Rouge. It's unfortunate. Oh, he's riding away with an LP2. Oh, no. Very, very unfortunate stuff there. I believe that's the LMP2 of, I believe that was Bob Carey that got kind of caught up in that mix now. So that is very unfortunate to see.
Goodness me, what a run it's been here. As we're going to cut through, we're going to do kind of a untraditional replay cut of this one all the way back to Tyler Stenick. Let's see what happened here. And no, it was just a snap on his own up the hill. I mean, I was expecting something a little more drastic, but no, that was just a total on his own snap, and we'll get one more angle of that. Let's go on board with him here for this one as he comes through. And yeah, look at the wheel just lightly snap going up, and I mean, nothing he could do for that. And where is he sitting now? Well, he's trying to nurse it back into the pits at the moment as he goes. Dwight Hibbs has had a moment here. Checking back in with LMP2. I could watch GT3s all day, but I want to show LMP2 some love. Let's check in with the Gulf liveried Eric Mack himself, currently sitting P4.
Yeah, and slight correction earlier, that car behind I did get caught up was Randy Kine? I think it's Kin. But anyways, it is indeed return of the Mac, the magnificent return of the Mac as he is chasing down Cameron Dick, the number 76 LMP2 car, through a Rouge in that Golf liveried machine. Very beautiful livery. He goes through a Rouge. These cars do have a bit more downforce compared to the GT3s, so it is a bit easier for those LMP2s to really kind of tuck in and follow, as there is a GT3 Lamborghini, the Diet Right Lamborghini. I remember I saw that livery earlier on in stream. So yeah, this is a very interesting battle to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and as we start to see this lap traffic come through, I mean, look at how they navigate. They just very quickly flash the lights to the inside as we work on getting the overlays back up. That is down through Brussels into No Name or Speaker's Corner. That's a podcast topic and a half there, to quote my friend Corey Silva. Yeah, that's a podcast topic and a half. What do you call the corners at Spa? Because there's about 8 or 9 different naming variations of this track, depending on really what you want to call it. So many different options that exist there, depending on what you do and how you feel, as we still work on getting these overlays back up. But we're continuing to follow through with Eric Mack, the return of the Mack himself, there in 4th place as he's working on going through and around, just holding his own where he can. Tell you what, 45 cars consistently showing up here, 2 elbows out. It's a great number to see here, even though my PC very clearly doesn't like it every once in a while, but it's so great to see so many drivers here. But again, as I said at the top of the broadcast, the league is looking for more LMP2 drivers. So if you are watching this or you know someone who likes to drive the prototype cars, Patrick, do you like prototype cars? I'll swing this one off to you.
Oh, I love prototype cars. I mean, I can drive, like, not necessarily super well, but I do enjoy driving LMP2s, LMP3s, GTP/LMH. I mean, there's just so many cars. I even like driving classic prototypes. Like, you think back to the Group C era and all the beautiful cars that were raced through there. You got the CLK, you got the 787. There's just so many amazing cars from that time period. And also the modern machines too are really fun to drive in pretty much any platform I've ever been on. So, I mean, and it's also really neat to see how many fantastic liveries can also be made for these LMP cars. I mean, I know we've talked to an excruciating length about how beautiful Eric Mack's Aston Martin Golf livery is, but there's also the car just in front of him. Cameron Dick has a nice car. The 2 cars in the lead, the 2 teammates, have fantastic liveries as well. So these prototype cars are fantastic to drive, and they look fantastic too.
That they do here as we get things back up going and dusted. Battle in the back of the I almost said GTP, of the LMP2 category. We haven't ran GTPs in a hot minute here, but in the back of the LMP2 category currently sits Malik Bass, who's trying to chase down Bob Carey. This is the battle for P8 in this class, and let's see how Malik does, trying to bring his way through up around, done and dusted, the 191, trying to get past the 280 here as they go. And I'll tell you right now, they've pulled 32 seconds out currently is the gap between the last LMP2 and the first GT3 here of Chris Stewart. As Chris Stewart and Paul Nye, the donut guy, continue to battle along here. Check it back in on this battle with Eric Mack and Cameron Dick, and we'll see here if Eric Mack is able to pick his way around Cameron as they go through. And Eric Mack will look outside, will look inside, down to the bus stop. Is going to be hard on the defense there from Cameron, and Cameron will hold on there for the moment there and holds on to 3rd place.
Yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, this is such a good track for battling. There's so many spots you can try to make risky overtakes, and other times you can make super clean overtakes, as Eric Mack gets very, very close. Social distancing is not in Eric Mack's playbook right now, as he is going to go ahead and try to get closer and closer to the number 076 LMP2 of Cameron Dick as they go through a Rouge and a Radeon going onto the Kemmel Straight. He's got a fantastic slipstream, but, I mean, Kel Haugen just directly behind is also in a pretty good spot. He's got a good slipstream too. So, and also not too far behind is Hugo Ortiz and Malik Bass and Aiden Garcia as well. So, quite a few cars just I mean, the LMP2 cars aren't super far apart. So, one mistake can really promote quite a handful of LMP2s.
Indeed, the case here as we see, I believe that's Hugo Ortiz going very, very wide. There it is, the 072 of Hugo Ortiz going through, or maybe the 799. No, that was Aiden Garcia actually going a little bit wide there ahead of Bob Carey and Malik Bass as they come through, continue to battle along. Plenty of battles in LMP2, but again, you watch this GT3 battle up the hill, through Radion, down the Kimmel Straight we go, side by side. Where they stop, nobody knows. Here we go. The slipstream for Paul Nye. Chris Stewart's going to try to defend the outside that turns to the inside, that turns to the outside here. Going to try to go late on the brakes here. Deep we go. Down the inside goes Paul Nye. Paul Nye now in the lead, and that's going to put Chris Stewart in an awkward position. Defends through, coming through, and now there we go. And coming through in the corner, Paul Nye, the donut guy, Paul Nye, the race car guy, will have the run there, as that is going to be a Mustang off to the side who is broke down, coming out of Le Combe, heading down towards Brussels, down into Speaker's Corner, aka No Name, as we head towards Puhan yet again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic battle here with all of these drivers. It is really fun to see. Eric Mack, though, staying close, and that's Tyler Stanek getting him wide on the bus stop, hindering Cameron Dick there, and putting Eric Mack in a bit of a better position, allows him to close that gap ever so slightly. But I mean, it allowed the LMP2 directly behind him to potentially benefit as well as this battle. Now, we talk about generational battles in motorsports. I mean, you could think of Ayrton Senna versus Alain Prost, Max Verstappen against Lewis Hamilton. Right now, we have a very fantastic battle between Paul Nye Sr. and Chris Stewart here. This is so much fun to watch. I mean, these cars are following very, very closely. And so far, I mean, Paul Nye is doing fantastic here, but there is an LMP2 ready to make its way through this pack.
Yeah, and as the LMP2s continue to work their way around, it's going to make things interesting. As we see here, that is going to indeed be the number 8. Who is that actually coming through? The Sonic car. That is Randy Kinney, who is bringing his way through. So the mismatched paint scheme there, mismatched number to paint scheme, as Randy Kinney will work his way through around. But this is just kind of where things goes. Oh, that's a spin. That's how you make a Sonic shake there. I was gonna say, if you mentioned Max Verstappen, I don't know if I mentioned Red Bull Racing too much right now, all things considered. But hey, a Sonic shake is always a good option, as well as David Moore here is coming through a little bit behind. We're going up the hill. Everybody's clean up the hill. We hop on board with Brian Metterly, who is trying to have a run. Paul Nye, the donut guy. Chris Stewart there behind. Again, we just keep this big GT3 train as they're trying to basically just pace each other here with an hour, 15 minutes left to go. 15 minutes into this 90-minute race.
You just reminded me how good Sonic Slushies actually were, because those were peak childhood. But anyways, we're having some peak battles out here on track. I mean, it doesn't matter what category you really get into. There's always some kind of really good battle. The two teammates in the LMP2 category of Antonio Costa and Cody Peredato aren't too far apart. And then obviously you have this fantastic battle that's on your screen at the moment with Paul Nye Sr. and then Chris Stewart, and also Peter Nodwell just directly behind too. And oh, that's Hugo Ortiz spinning around like a Beyblade. And I wonder what happened there. And oh, that back tire is not looking great. Somebody might want to call the automotive chiropractor for that one.
And here's your replay of what happened to Hugo Ortiz. Certainly not going home in the same condition he arrived. As you can see the flash there from the GT3 car who was in the mix. But unfortunately for Hugo, it looks like coming through. And then, clattered there by Malik Bass as he was trying to rejoin the track. And unfortunately for Hugo, that was race done. Race dusted. No más, por favor.
Yeah, I mean, considering everything that happened, I would want to tap out too. And we see Tyler C having a bit of a spin in collection of cars. Oh, that is not a very pretty thing to see when you're just running through that corner at such a high velocity. We're seeing from David Moore, who just got collected in the Porsche. And he is spun around, facing in the complete wrong direction. I'm sure driving Spa reverse is fun, but not when there's several other cars going in the correct direction, running straight at you head on.
Tons of moments everywhere happening right now. Unfortunately, as we see all the drivers come through, GT3's now starting to run their line here. Malik Bass in the pits at the moment as drivers come up the hill through Radion, and they continue their way through down the Kimmel Straight. They go, and Paul Nye currently the leader of this group. Chris Stewart there in second place, about a half second off, but Chris Stewart is doing well to stay just in touch of slipstream, but is losing a little bit of time at a time, a little more here and there as Chris Stewart, Peter Nodwell, the teammates are right there beside each other now. And let's see if they can work together at all to get up to Paul Nye. And then they have the McLaren of Julius Maszewski just behind, and we'll see if Maszewski is able to help out either way with them as they all try to chase down Paul Nye, the race car guy, Paul Nye, the donut guy, Paul Nye, the potential champion guy, Paul Nye, the boss man guy. You can also call him as they go through. Watch these battles continue to develop and run here in GT3 as we check back in with our race leaders, LMP2, as they go down to Brussels, and Antonio Costa will be coming up Rouge Radion with about a 0.7 of a second gap on Cody Perodato.
Indeed, yeah. So, I mean, it's a really fun battle here between these two. But these two aren't really going to try anything super risky because they are indeed teammates. As shown by the very similar liveries here. I think it's just a very slight color swap here. Drivers that are going to fight tooth and nail, though, is Cameron Dick and Eric Mack just directly behind these two, as Antonio Costa is still going to continue to lead this race just ahead of his teammate, Cody Perodato. And the nice thing about having your teammate directly behind you is that, yes, they're still going to race. They're still going to try to get the win, but they're not going to try any obscure dives that could potentially just hinder the team results. And I want to ask your opinion on this, Brad, because in my opinion, I really do like this team format that we've brought here to Elbows Out Racing. It really adds another layer of camaraderie to this league that already had a high amount of camaraderie to begin with.
Well, remember what happened last season, that it was just you ran your manufacturer, but guys just sort of picked whatever car. They didn't think about running the manufacturer group as a challenge in a championship, etc. They were just running kind of whatever car they liked. But here, we kind of hit the point where it actually does matter. You pick your teammate, you're running a team run, you're looking for a win where you can find it. So it's good to kind of see the guys really buy into that, similar paint schemes, and really look through and have that great fight. It does introduce extra strategy as well, which I am a huge fan of. Anytime we can introduce some extra strategy into a battle here, as we watch Paul Nye come down into No Name, heading down towards Puhan at the moment. Actually, hold on. Why am I saying he's heading towards Puhan? He's coming out of No Name. No, he isn't Puhan. I know my track. Come on now. The triple left-hander here. Paul Nye comes through, but you can see here behind, you have teammates in this situation that are trying to battle for second and third to take on Paul Nye, but also hold Maszewski behind, which is completely opposite words to what Perodato and Costa have going on. Perodato and Costa just have to run with each other and try to open up the gap to Cameron Dick and P3, which they're doing a very good job of at the moment. Continuing to watch this battle go and run and develop and kind of do its thing here. Everyone's really just pushing along, holding on, and that's about all we got right now. You have to remember these races are 90 minutes long here, Patrick, so you just got to survive 90 minutes.
Yeah, indeed. And also taking a look at the team statistics. Now, this is with the caveat of they call themselves Devil Beater Motorsports, the team of Antonio Costa and Cody Perodato. They are one of the two LMP2 groups that have two drivers in their team. But with that being said, they have just about twice as many points as Friend of Motorsport, which is the team of Jamil Gummer, with 102 points to 54. And compare that to the only other LMP2 team with two drivers, that team has 40 points, and it is the Nitro Vortex team of Kylan Bruce and Liam Bronco. So that is a interesting statistic, and it just shows you how well Costa and Peridotto work together as a team.
Indeed, it's a great thing to see them run through together as we watch Malik Bass here carving his way through the field here. Zachary Nerney, the teammate to Paul Nye. Paul Nye could really use him right now, but he's Zachary Nerney's running more like a Sergio Perez than he is a Max Verstappen right now. Paul Nye, of course, running the front of this GT3 group here. We'll see if we can get any sort of teammate help from him as we go further through this race. LMP2, they're still settled in back in the back. That is Randy Kinney, who is still holding on, trying to carve his way through, and taking a dive down into Poulan, trying to get his way around. And you see as he now works his way around second place GT3 Pro driver Chris Stewart. He will be looking here quickly to try to get around Paul Nye, the donut guy, even though he is a lap down to the rest of the GT3 field.
Yeah, Randy Kinney is kind of struggling out there in this LMP2 battle. He has been stuck by Paul Nye Sr. a lot longer than a few other LMP2 drivers might be, but granted, he was on a tricky section to kind of pass, and you had the fantastic battle between Chris Stewart and Peter Nodwell, two drivers that are teammates for SimCity Racing in the McLaren. They're actually second overall in the team standings for GT3 Pro with 72 points, just by the team of Fair Enough Racing with Tyler Stenick and Brian Metterly, who have 100 points in that BMW M4. And when we talk about the team dynamic, they're called Foster Racing, but I'm going to refer to them as the Coke Zero team of Paul Nye Sr. and Zachary Nerney. They didn't exactly have a great time out last time in Fuji, so it was quite an unfortunate race for them, but definitely looking better today.
Yeah, we heard from Nerney after that last race and talked with him briefly about his experience. Definitely he would be hoping to have a better week around here, but at the moment he's not. We're 25 minutes into a 90-minute race, so why don't we do just a little bit of a breakdown here of your field, of where they started to where they're at here as they go. If I can click the right things, which are sometimes easier to do than not here. So in your LMP2 category, here is where we currently stand. Antonio Costa currently up one place in the lead. Cody Peridotto started on pole and has dropped down to second. Cameron Dick was up into third. Eric Mack dropped down into fourth. Cal Hagen is up a place. Aiden Garcia is up a place. Bob Carey's up three. Malik Bass, we saw his moment early on, down three. And Randy Kinney, we saw his issues early on. He started from the pit lane and he has lost just one position there into heat number 10. That is where LMP2 category currently stands, as the gaps are starting to spread out for them. And as those gaps start to spread out, slipstream becomes less of an effect, and you start to just kind of see the guys try to coast their way through, and it becomes a little bit more about what they can do to hold on. Now, remember also, you have to change tires in elbows out. You have to take 4 tires. You cannot double stint tires. So in LMP2, it's all about, do they want to one stop and try to one stop on fuel, or are they going to do 2 pit stops, and one of those will have to be tires, but then they do a second stop, take some extra fuel, maybe take another set of tires, and then floor it to the end. I would imagine Costa Peridotto on the same strategy, right? I would think Eric Mack is going to be the one to try to switch it up a bit here. Eric Mack is a feisty little driver who I would not be surprised to see do an alternate strategy and try to just pull an upset.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about these 90-minute races, that it gives you a lot of opportunities to really make these unusual strategy calls that you otherwise wouldn't really be able to do in a regular 60-minute race here. So Eric Mack does have a good chance to either go really long on a stint or just go in and try to do a double stint. So it'll be interesting, because I mean, I know it's a rule for there to be a 4-tire change, so you can't pretty much just make a little drive-through or just get an extra splash of fuel and then go on your way. You have to change all 4 tires here. But Eric Mack, I mean, the thing is once you get those tires in the proper operating window, you can get some pace around this track. The LMP2 cars don't seem to struggle as much as the GTPs when it comes to getting those tire temps up. So, I mean, maybe that's the strat that Eric Mack might go on. In terms of the teammates that are leading, as we got a fantastic battle here, Zachary Nerney trying to stay in this sandwich with Colin Bourdon and Brian Medderly here, trying to go in and jump. Joel Bandera making a move on the Medderly there in that dire right McLaren. Fantastic stuff here. And Joel Bandera is just right behind. He is just right behind Zachary Nerney here, who's going to be definitely looking for a better position here. The number 86 McLaren trying to get a move done. Oh, he's going to get tapped. He's just going to get tapped by Medderly and goes for a little bit of a slide. That could have been so much worse, but Joel is definitely not happy about that one.
Somehow managed to save that. I was going to point out that was some hard racing, but he saved it there. And then Medderly with a slight off-track moment there, just kind of trying to gather it back up after that contact. I mean, goodness me, this is hard racing in GT3 Pro as they go along here. Battles will continue along. Your GT3 Pro recap on your screen as it follows. A couple things to note. Medderly up 5 places on the day. Bandera up 2 places. Tyler Stenick, we saw his moment very early on, is down 9 places on the day. Jordan Scarrett is one of our first drivers to be out, along with Tyler C. and Graham Lewis in the GT3 EM category. We'll catch up with them here in just a little bit. But Paul Nye, the donut guy, Paul Nye, the race car guy, Paul Nye, the boss man, who might fire me after this race, is currently up front. Holding things down. You mentioned 90-minute races. I do want to recap kind of the remainder of our schedules. We're on round 4 here. Next week, it is Mosport, CTMP, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, for a 60-minute race. It's Road America after that on the 23rd of July for 60 minutes. Silverstone for 60 minutes on the 30th of July, and then we get to August, Long Beach, and then Road Atlanta, which we're predicting rain on, for 60 minutes. VIR comes after that. Hockenheimring for our penultimate race on the 27th of August for 60 minutes. And then the final race on the 3rd of September is a 90-minute road course layout around Indianapolis Motor Speedway for 90 minutes. That will be an exciting race to watch.
100%. Actually, all the races on this calendar are going to be really fun to watch. Mosport is going to be really interesting because personally, I don't have any experience with that track whatsoever, so that is going to be a really fun one to kind of do the deep dive and do some good research on ahead of time, and I'm sure the racing is going to be absolutely fantastic, like it's been in seasons past, the rest of this season, and the season still yet to come. So I think the racing throughout the season is going to be definitely amazing. Be sure to go ahead and drop a like and subscribe, turn on notifications, because you're not going to want to miss any of the remaining Elbows Out Racing and also all the other series that we cover here on PTR TV, so we can continue to bring excellent battles and excellent drives like Jonathan Lanton currently in first, and Christopher Ardero trying to track him down.
Oh,
hello.
That was Hugo Ortiz missing the front of that car. All right, hold the phone really quick. We're gonna find what just happened to Hugo Ortiz. So that started with Joel and just drove right into him. I mean, what happened here with Joel? That was just a snap off, and yeah, I'm not sure what happened, but then we hop on board. I mean, Hugo Ortiz was coming through and I mean, tried to go, but Joel's trying to back up. Goodness gracious me. And then while that's happening, it looks like David Moore has had a moment and spun it there on the bus stop. Maxwell Woodmansee has also had a moment. That is what I call a hard drive off. Kept it out of the wall somehow. How did he keep it out of the wall? Hugo Ortiz had a follow-up moment coming towards the bus stop. So for Hugo Ortiz, the night just goes from bad to a little bit worse. Hugo into the pits now with under an hour to go. I'm going to tell you right now that I do believe that car is done and dusted.
Yeah, I mean, that thing is bouncing around. The car's bouncing around a bunch, like, you know, my little tiny hatchback trying to go through a dirt road, just constantly going up and down. And that car is I mean, we joke about aerodynamics and weight reduction, but clearly there's going to be a better way. And also the Diet Right Lamborghini is also into the pits. I think it was another unfortunate bystander of that incident there. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, it's normal at Spa. It's a tricky track to navigate, especially when you're racing super hard, like Colin Bourdon once again, chasing down that Coke Zero Mercedes just up ahead. He's going to try to get some moves done, but this really isn't the best part of the track to really try to make a pass on.
That it's not here. Sometimes you're better off just to follow through. And another thing to remember, too, I think, for some of these drivers is that Elbows Out does have their endurance teams that they run a lot of the iRacing endurance events. So some of these drivers are running this sort of as a warm-up for their 24-hour Spa race that's coming up.
Yeah, I know previously, I think we talked with Christopher Ondera, I think, towards the end, or at the end of Daytona. And what happened to Paul Nye Sr. there?
Paul Nye lost it through the bus stop, I believe. Oh, no, I don't call that lost it.
He got power drived into the wall.
Get one more angle there. So that was him battling with the number 73. And, I mean, we'll go on board with the 73 for that one, but I almost don't feel like I need to see what happened with the 73. If I can cue this up fast enough. I mean, yeah. I'm not a steward, and I'm going to leave it at that. How about that?
Yeah, that's a good stance. I'm going to take the exact same stance, but I'm pretty confident in what the stewards are going to say about that incident. Yeah, that's rough, because Paul Nye Sr. was doing such a good job in this race. He was pretty much controlling the pack in that Coke Zero Mercedes AMG, and he was really just defending super well. Didn't really give anybody a chance to really try to make an overtake, but unfortunately, that contact and subsequent spin just pretty much put a stop to that effort from 0 to, well, 0.
That was a rough one to watch. I'm not gonna lie. We'll see what race control thinks of that one a little bit later. Paul Nye, the meatball guy, being said in YouTube chat, and I don't think that is an inaccurate statement here. Patrick, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, because I meant to make a graphic on this, and I did not make the graphic here. So I'm going to go over the GT3 AM standings as they currently are while we let these guys kind of run their way through. While I'm doing that, will you look up the team standings for me and see where you can find those? And then we'll kind of go over them here in just a moment as we look at where our GT3 AM category, man, it's only 9:40 on a Wednesday night, and you would think that it was like 5 a.m. here. Jonathan Lanson currently leads over Christopher Ondera here in second in GT3 AM. Ethan Murphy runs third, Seth Vosselman fourth. Parker Chiapuzzo runs P5. Matthew Santrosiero is in sixth, a little bit further back, with Shea Perkins in seventh, Benjamin Bechtel in P number 8. So continuing to kind of watch things go through as Seth Vosselman gets past Mike Sermon in the battle for P20 overall this is, but they are battling it out still. Hard racing coming up between these two. Plenty of defense being given by Vosselman. And then just kind of rounding out our field as they stand, Dayton McGuire, David Moore, Christian Cardona, Daniel Pinero, Philip Keyser, Dwight Hibbs, Maxwell Woodman C, Tyler C, and Graham Lewis, the last two being out of this race. Maxwell Woodman C down a lap. We saw his incident earlier on in that Diet Right Lamborghini that's getting plenty of love here as Daniel Pinero is back in P13 chasing down Christian Cardona, but all eyes go to Jonathan Lanton, who is just keeping a good pace over Christopher Ondera at the moment.
Indeed, yeah, so it's interesting because we haven't really talked a lot about the GT3 AMs here tonight, and I actually had the team standings already pulled up when you requested them, so sent them your way. And so we'll talk about those here in a moment, but the team dynamic really makes an interesting extra little subplot, if you will, for these races, because like you said previously, I mean, people just picked whatever car they liked when it came to the manufacturer standings, so nobody really tried to over-compete on that front to try to win the Manufacturers' Cup. But when you have teams here, it changes the entire dynamic of it. So you're going to have that extra team camaraderie, and it's also really fun to see, like, who gets to team up with who, what liveries are going to run, as Cameron Dick is fighting with Cody Paradano, and he does get the move up the inside of the bus stop. That's not a place you normally see overtakes, but that was a fantastic move. Is there going to be a callback? Is there going to be an answer for Cody Paradano, as Cale Haugen is in a pretty decent spot to really check in if somebody makes a mistake? But here we go. We have some pit stops coming on through, including the magnificent Eric Mack.
Eric Mack is in. Coke Zero's Zachary Nerney is in. Martin Merkva with Red Bull Racing is in here. Interesting to kind of see these decisions coming now, I'll be honest, as we go through, as Cody Paradano down the Kimmel Straight is going to try to have a fight back. The Mustang ahead trying to have a fight back as well. Let's see, down the inside we go. Side by side where they stop. Well, it's going to be right there because Cody Paradano cannot clear the 076 of Cameron Dick. Cameron Dick will hold on to it here for the moment, trying to go past the 73 of Peter Nodwell, who has Rich Calais ahead battling with Julius Machewski, and that is the battle just ahead of them as they go. That is continuing, so tons of good battles here as Cameron Dick plays the Houdini card and disappears and reappears here on the track here, which is not what you want to see at all, as Cody Paradano will continue to try to chase down the car that he can't see.
Cameron Dick is trying to make his LMP2 car cosplay as John Cena. You can't see him, and he's going to continue to saw through this GT3 field now. But it just seems like Cody Paradano just hasn't had the easiest of times getting through this GT3 pack. He's going to try to side pass the Mustang, but the Mustang just holds him off momentarily, and that's not something you would like to see if you are Cody Paradano. Now the gap that was only 0.8 of a second earlier now is up to 1.8 seconds, 1.9, almost 2 seconds now of him trying to get past Majeski here, as Cody Paradano finally gets past. He's got the clear air, but he lost over a second and a half just trying to get through that GT3 field.
I think it's interesting that we're seeing some of our LMP2s stop already, only 40 minutes into this race. So that tells me that they are going for the two-stop strategy, which is an interesting thing to see here, as Julius Machewski is still trying to battle out and hold off Rich Calais behind as he comes through and around. Rich will try to get a little bit richer in the placement here, looking for second place if it can be found. Cale Hagen is the next one into the pits there in the LMP2 category. Aiden Garcia will pass his way through. Watch Rich Calais here with the run down the Kimmel Straight, trying to get past Julius Machewski, and there it will go side by side, one to the inside, one to the outside. How does this one play out? Well, it does look like Rich has the run, but once you pull out into the flat air, you don't have a draft, and you got to do what you can. Inside turns to outside, turns to inside. Hold on to it. He's going to give him the good old wide Mustang run, and Rich Calais will get past Machewski in the 012. Rich Calais up into second place in the Mustang.
He was definitely asking, what on earth is a kilometer, as he revved that V8 down the Kimmel Straight, got the move done and dusted, and now he's actually already starting to pull up quite a gap to Julius Majewski here. It's already about almost a 1 second gap here between the two, as that Mustang goes on a hard charge to chase down Chris Stewart, who is currently a solid 3 seconds ahead. But now that Rich Calais is actually pulled away from Majewski here, he's actually closing in that gap ever so slightly. I think he's already knocked off about a 1/10 and a half here, just in the little sector that we've been watching Rich Calais ever since he got past the McLaren in that Ford Mustang. And we know the Mustang is surprisingly good, considering it's not the most aerodynamic GT3 car that is around here. When you think of like cars that looks like they would be good, in a GT3 field. You think of the McLarens, you think of the Lamborghinis, you think of the cars that aren't commonly associated as bricks, which the Mustang sometimes can be considered that, but right now, in the hands of Rich Calais, that thing is a straight weapon, as now the top 3 make their way into the pits. So it's looking like it might be a 2-stop across the board.
It definitely is feeling that way here as this gets us down, approaching half race distance now. Antonio Costa into the pits here. We'll hop on with this left front and just, slightly quickly phase through the wall here of this tight endurance layout pit lane here in Spa, but you have to be careful in the pit lane. I saw drivers spin out in practice, and as we can see, pit limiter on here. Costa very, very slowly going through here. First gear, 4,000 RPM. Feels like an eternity here at 45 miles an hour down the pit lane into the stall. Stops in. Cameron Dick will very quickly come through. Cody Peridotto will bring his car in as well and stop, and let's see how long they stay in the lane here as they get ready to go. We're going to kind of take a second here and let them get into the pits. We're going to take a quick breather for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere as we get these pit stops cycled through, and we'll be right back with you here in just a moment as drivers pit in. Battles continue to develop. This is the 90 minutes here in Spa, brought to you by IDI. IDI's motto, of course, is our race theme for tonight. Everyone goes home in the same condition they arrived. It may not be the case here for all of our drivers, but I tell you what, it definitely is the case at IDI. It's something they take great pride in, and it's something that they are proud to do day in and day out. Safety is a big and number one priority for them, and they do a great job of that. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Yes, now's the time.
We already used your fast
Definitely don't want to drive through that 1 minute,
I just got
13
repaired.
seconds.
I got tires, I got fuel, but I got to.
How we doing there, Emily?
Actually,
Which side you want me on?
I hit my pit limiter on the way out and sped in the pits.
I'll take that side.
Who do you think was the best Spider-Man?
I still think McGuire.
No, the cartoon version.
True.
You know, I really enjoyed McGuire when they were all together in the newest Marvel.
I hate to say it, but either one that isn't Tobey Maguire, or not, I'm sorry, that isn't Tom Holland, genuinely.
Really? I like Tom Holland.
I like Tom Holland, but Maguire to me
love that boy.
Is like a very classic take on Spider-Man, and the Amazing Spider-Man's like a very good take on like the more cocky Spider-Man, and Tom Holland just kind of sits somewhere in the middle where like, I don't mind it. Just doesn't feel like it's on a particular like end of the spectrum the other way, the way the other two are.
Okay, now best Superman, Christopher. I mean, absolutely, without it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All the Supermans, to be honest.
I do think Henry Cavill got misused.
Today there was pictures of when Nicolas Cage dressed
Yeah,
for Superman. And it looks so terrible and wrong.
You out of the pits by now, Ethan?
I just went back to the pits to serve the penalty.
Yeah, after
Okay,
rear
we're
ending
coming in,
me.
so maybe we'll be coming out together.
Hey, you're just a lap ahead. No tires, no fuel, just
The
penalty.
longest pit of all time.
Another 40 seconds.
Uh-oh.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah, it happens, brother. What do you think you did? Cross the white line?
No, I hit my pit. I hit my pit limiter when I was driving out.
Beating.
Yep. Just dumb.
All right, so that was just a fun little moment we wanted to have. While we just sort of enjoyed a moment to breathe. I didn't know the drivers were going to talk about Spider-Man, though. But if you've ever wondered what goes on behind the scenes while the drivers are racing tooth and nail side by side, yeah, apparently the conversation is who's the best Spider-Man. And I have a feeling that one of them started that conversation because they knew we were there. We kind of gave them the warning ahead of time of, hey, remember, this is a family-friendly broadcast. Don't get us in trouble. And so we sort of, I didn't know what they were going to say, if they were just going to sort of talk. I heard one of them do a very good job of not saying anything bad. One of them maybe not as good of a job, so I do apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen, if you caught that for any reason. But yeah, apparently Tom Holland, best Spider-Man. Interesting takes, because I know we had some hot takes that were coming up in YouTube chat as well.
I'm not going to give my opinion on Spider-Man movies because I have actually never watched a Spider-Man movie, so I'm not going to give my opinion on something I know absolutely nothing about. But it does remind me of the one time where me and another commentator in a different series, we did spark a football versus soccer debate, which was really funny during a tech delay.
You know what? I'll give you that one here as we go through. Colin Bourdon continuing to battle here. Currently your closest battle on track, believe it or not. First set of pit stops. A lot of people have pit. About half of our GT3s have pit. A few haven't. You heard Eric Mack there. One of our drivers, or not Eric Mack. Who was that? Ethan Murphy had to serve that drive-through penalty. There we go. But currently Colin Bourdon on the pressure here with Peter Nodwell. This is your closest battle on track. Cody Peridotto is starting to close into Cameron Dick, and Cameron Dick is starting to close back to Eric Mack. So I will keep my eye on that battle, but at the moment, this is really kind of where the bread and butter goes with these two battling it out really, really hard. Colin Bourdon just looking to try to get past Peter Nodwell, heading towards Puhan. And through Puhan we go, and just, again, just sticking there behind, trying to do what he can there in his Mercedes versus this McLaren.
Yeah, he's going to try to get the move done, try to get into those in-class podium positions now. But we've seen that Nodwell likes to go, he's not afraid to get physical in that McLaren. He goes a bit wide on corner exit, taking a little bit of the gravel, driving the McRally car now as they go ahead and make their way through this run, going up to the bus stop chicane. This is probably Colin Bourdon's best shot to really get an overtake done if he wants to make it before this next lap. He's going to try, he's going to think about the outside, but just not enough real estate for the number 184 Mercedes to really try to get a move done. It's not going to happen this time, but he's close enough to where if he nails the end of La Sauce, that he's going to be able to really get a good run through Air Rouge, down to Kemmel Straight, and possibly get a very nice overtake to jump into the podium spots here in the GT3 Pro category.
Still plenty of time as well. Remember, 39 minutes left to go on the timer, and you don't win races with 39 minutes to go. You win them at the checkered flag here. Checking back up front, though, because I tell you what, somebody who would like to argue that point with me, I'm sure, is Cameron Dick trying to chase down the return of Eric Mack, who is currently showing in pole position up in the front, leading this entire field. But that 076 is given plenty of pressure here from behind. Half a second, the gap there. 0.4 of a second as they exit the bus stop. And watch Cody Peredato, because now that they're through the lap traffic, Peredato's going to have a lot of a run here. Through La Source we go, down through turn 1, heading towards El Rouge and de la Radion. We will go down the Kimmel Straight, and I tell you what, let's hop on board here with Cameron as we go through this way, riding on with the little side cam. Here we go. Mind the curb to the inside, mind the curb to the outside, a little bit of curb to the inside. Make sure you don't upset the car. And then here we go, slipstream on board with Cameron we go. What do you do if you're Eric Mack? You defend one way. Eric Mack needs to come back left to take this run, but he's going to defend the inside. He's going to slowly send it through. Hard dive up the inside we go, and Cameron Dick will send that up the inside, overdrives it and through, and Eric Mack's going to fight it back.
Indeed, and that's a fantastic fight back there from Eric Mack. He's going to send it on through. I mean, that was an admirable effort there from Cameron, but just not quite enough. Eric Mack putting on a magnificent display here, trying to keep that car behind. He does succeed for now. I mean, that was a very late on the brakes moment there for Cameron Dick. Unfortunately, it just did not quite pay off. And that just really shows that sometimes you really just got to pick your moment. Eric Mack made the LMP2 seem extremely wide, about 3 car lengths wide, which down that Kimmel Straight is what you really want to do if you're that lead car in a battle. You want to make your car seem as wide as humanly possible so that, you know, in this case, Cameron Dick won't be able to really get by without doing something extremely risky, and it paid off for Eric.
And let me tell you who's licking their chops through all of this. It's that third place car currently of Cody Peredato, who is just right in the mix of this, looking to just see these two have a moment. Maybe it's a little bit of just a wheel tap side by side through the bus stop, and that will open things up greatly for Cody Peredato to try to find a move. And that is all Cody Peredato needs, is just kind of the invite at the moment to really run through. As we watch here yet again, Cameron Dick is going to look for a move here on Eric Mack. Will there be a move to give, though? That is the question as we head down towards La Source yet again. Here we go. Eric Mack, very defensive on the inside. It's going to switch back through. I think they're not going to go side by side up El Rouge, but doggone if they didn't think about it here as they come through. Watch the GT3. What do you do? Cameron Dick looking one way, then the other. On board we go. Up the hill we go. With the run we go. Now coming down towards the Kimmel Straight, they're going to have the Lamborghini to contend with. What do they do? What do they do? What do they do? Well, I'll tell you what. It's dive down the Lamborghini. That 076 is going to try to dive in. Swerves back over. That's a little naughty, being a little cheeky there, I see. But the 076 will settle back in there behind the 19 of Eric Mack. Eric Mack, count your blessings for another day at least, another lap at least.
Yeah, I was fully convinced if that Lamborghini was not there, then Cameron was just going to straight send it like he did the lap prior. But these drivers got to know that there's still over half an hour of racing left to go. We're not even 2/3 of the way through this race here at Spa yet, but these drivers are sending everything in the book, trying to make up as many positions as they can so they can just get that track position. And I mean, Cameron really wants this lead. He doesn't want to be stuck behind Eric anymore. He wants to try to get the move done. But with these two constantly battling it out tooth and nail, fighting for every position humanly possible, Cody Peredato is just sitting there patiently waiting for the moment that these two come to blows and make any kind of contact. He's going to Cody Peredato just kind of slide himself into the lead of this race. And, I mean, right now, if you're Cody Peredato, what would you do? Because, personally, I would just kind of sit back and just kind of wait for my moment, because I would have seen how close Eric Mack and Cameron Dick would have gotten to each other on several occasions. And just kind of have that gut feeling that, you know, these two are probably going to collide at some point.
Oh, 100% they're going to come together. I don't doubt that for a millisecond. I think it's more of a matter of when, not if. But Eric Mack is a very clean racer. Cameron Dick has been a very hard-fought racer. So this is going to be what's interesting here as they go. I mean, this is such a good run here. And for all of you in YouTube chat, I hope you're enjoying this. I see lots of people in YouTube chat having a lot of takes here. Thank you all for joining us again as we go. We're on the chase for 2,000 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year is what we're looking for. Currently we're at, I think it's 1734. I'd love to say we're at 1738. I think that'd be hilarious, but we're at 1734 and we just need a little bit of help to get there as we go through continuing this battle. And I tell you what, if you are Eric Mack, I don't know how quick you can get a GT3 out of the way, but that GT3 car did not move fast enough. And I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break from that because Colin Bourdon and Peter Nodwell are battling it out for P2 in GT3 Pro.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the battles have been really centered on this GT3 battle, and rightfully so, just because GT3 has been on fire tonight. Constant highlight reels from these drivers. I mean, this is a pure masterclass in good sportsmanship and good racing. Colin Bourdon just tucked in right by Peter Nodwell there. Mercedes versus McLaren. And we know that Mercedes is pretty good when it comes to top-end speed. So he might be able to get a fast one over this McLaren as they go and navigate through the bus stop chicane. And into the pits goes both of them. So there's the pit stop for these two drivers. And I know we talked a lot about the LMP2 strategies, the two-stop versus the one-stop. But what about for GT3s? Because certainly there's going to be a few wildcards in the GT3 strategy.
There definitely are. There's going to be some drivers that pit earlier and they're running late. You have Nodwell, Bourdon, Chris Stewart, who are all in the pits right now that are going to be running that very late pit stop strategy as they go through. And that's so interesting to kind of see ending up where they're at, because it really does make me wonder what the right strategy is. And to be honest, the pure answer is I have absolutely no doggone idea. Could not tell you what the right strategy or the wrong strategy is right now. I can just tell you there's a strategy at play and everyone is running it here. We'll pull up the pits, the stint graphic here on the side. So that is how many laps drivers have been on the set of tires that they're on right now, or how long it's been since they've been in the pits. And you can see 9 laps for Eric Mack, 7 laps for Cameron Dick, 7 laps for Cody Peredato. So Eric Mack was able to pull off that undercut there to get up into the position he's in. Malik Bass has been 19 laps since he's been in the pits and is up into 4th place, but Malik has to make it to the end of this race. And to give you an idea of where we're at in terms of laps, we're on lap 27 of predicted 41 to go for tonight. So that is where we sit at. You look down in GT3's top 3 have now all pit as they go through. Rich Calais has been out for 1 lap. Ben Bechtel in the GT3 AMs has not, or pit on lap 2 and has been out for 25 laps. So, I mean, still tons of battles to sort of be decided here, there, and everywhere as these drivers work out what they're going to do. Eric Mack currently coming up on, I believe it is Nathan Hemperly that he is trying to go around. That is the number 12 indeed of Nathan Hemperly that he will work his way through around, and Eric Mack runs wide.
Yeah, that's going to open the door for Cameron Dick to slide on through. Oh, I was going to lunge with the GT3 car. And Cody Peredato taking a very optimistic line, turning his car to a very expensive prototype lawnmower. Cody Peredato. What a move, or what an attempt of a move that was to get past. Didn't quite get past as I kind of expected, because, I mean, he took on so much grass there. From that angle, it did look like he did get the pass, but not quite. Eric Mack still holding on to the position. But yeah, like we talked about earlier, Cody Peredato just waited for a mistake to happen, and he's going to capitalize, shaking for a move as we switch up to this battle up here. This is a battle we've seen before tonight. It is Rich Calais and Peter Nodwell battling it out now for P2 in the GT3 Pro category now. And I mean, now we're going to switch back to Cameron Dick and his lead in this race, as there's a Porsche coming out of the pits. But Eric Mack is going to be under a ton of pressure now from Cody Peredato. Can he use that same masterclass defense that he was using on Cameron earlier? That is the question at hand as they exit through the Campbell Straight.
The return of the Mac has been squashed. Mac now down into second place, and it looks like possibly in the clutches of third of Cody Peridotto. I really thought Peridotto had that move done and dusted. I don't know how Cody Peridotto did not make that move stick, but doggone, that was a hard-fought battle. That was a heck of a swing there, as we keep things family-friendly here on PTR TV. Yeah, that was, I mean, wow. Just wow is all I've about got for that one. Beyond impressive to see Cody Peridotto with the bravery and the car control to send that thing off in the grass, try to get the pass done. Ultimately, again, it didn't stick, but I mean, A+ for effort. I don't know what else to say. Is we are 60 minutes into a 90-minute race, and top three are separated by under a second and continue to battle it out here as they go along. I mean, just keeping things battling out very hard. Malik Bass here will exit the pits just behind Bob Carey and is going to try to have a run on Bob Carey here late into the race. Malik just pit here, was running... Again, just wasn't in a position to run it to the end, so had to make that second pit stop in and go. Everyone has been in the pits at least once, so that is good to see where everyone's at. And as I look, Colin Bourdon is one that catches my eye. Colin Bourdon and Nathan Hemperley, I believe they are committed to a two-stop strategy, as Colin Bourdon was only in the pits for 52 seconds and was in the box for 24 seconds. That tells me Colin Bourdon did not take 4 tires yet. May have only taken fuel and is trying to run late into this race.
I mean, that's certainly a strategy, as once again, we are on board with Eric Mack as Cody Peridotto is trying to line up a move. He's got the slipstream, he's got the draft, he's got the move. I'm going to pass you going into the corner, and he's got it there. Excellent done there. Made a very good run through the Camo Straight going into Les Combes and Malmedy. I believe I pronounced that probably pretty wrong, but still fantastic battling here in this top class of the LMP2 category. I do want to highlight something that was said in YouTube chat earlier. Hashtag the end of the Mac, which is a bit of a stretch considering that he still has all 4 tires connected to the LMP2 car. And I was also just going to mention earlier that it felt like Cody Peridotto had the Taro Catano curse, if any of you maybe 2000s generation watched the Hot Wheels World Race movie. Every time he would go for a pass, it would just never end up exactly like he would want. But this time, Cody Peridotto got that move done and dusted very nicely, and without turning his car to a lawnmower.
Indeed, great run from him there as we see the battle that is continuing around them. That's the 088 of Jonathan Lanton battling it out with Mike Sermon. This is a mixed class battle as Cody Peridotto and Eric Mack work their way through. Eric Mack now just following down towards the bus stop, sticking behind, keeping the momentum, and just working through live to fight another day. Cameron Dick is going to stretch the legs here, gap 2.5 seconds, and continuing to open as he goes. He just wants to get away as fast as possible. As we bring up the overall standings, kind of give you an idea of where everyone's at, where they stand on the day here, as the whole field is shown here, so you can get an idea of who is what overall going through. Again, Eric Mack, I have a feeling here as we head up El Rouge and Radion is going to have a great run down the Kimmel Straight. Let's see if he can get this pass done, dusted, collected. Well, he's certainly going to look for it. It's looking good. They're going to come up behind 20th place overall of Seth Bosselman. Seth Bosselman will stay nice and out of the way there. Now we continue on down into Lacan, and there is not a pass to be found yet for Eric Mack. It will be another lap of sticking behind here as we're down to about 25 minutes left to go.
Yeah, once again, I mean, this LMP2 field, they know how to fight, and I mean, with these two fighting tooth and nail, Cameron Dick is in a pretty decent spot now. He's got a 2.5 second gap with about just under 24.5 minutes left to go in this race here at Spa, and this has been a very fantastic battle here between these drivers. Eric Mack trying to get a move done, but now they're coming up to the GT3 traffic. The I believe that is Hatsune Miku on the side of that Mercedes AMG GT, a reference to the, I think it's called Good Smile Racing Team over in Japan for Super GT that runs a very similar livery style, but they get through that Mercedes just fine. Looks like Cody Perodotto touched gravel just a bit there, but not enough to allow Eric Mack to get any kind of advantage.
Not at all here. And I tell you what, this battle is continuing on for a moment, and we're down to about 20 minutes to go, and we haven't done any temporarily loud engines yet. So you know what we're going to switch it up and do here? We're going to switch it up and do some temporarily loud engines as Eric Mack continues to try to chase things down. Stick with us, ladies and gentlemen, here as we go on board with Eric Mack in his run against Cody Perodotto. We'll see if he can find anything while we're on board. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that temporarily loud engines here. Eric Mack not able to get the pass done. Certainly gave it the old college try, you have to say here. But I tell you what, Kel Hagen is in a battle with Antonio Costa right now that is not letting up. So we'll check in with that as they head up towards El Rouge and Radion yet again. 20 minutes left to go in this 90-minute race here today, brought to you by International Decorators, Inc. Be sure to check them out at 4idi.com as they have brought you all of the production here this season. A big shout out to them for sponsoring the league here. This week's race, everyone goes home in the same condition they arrived 90. Safety is paramount at International Decorators, Inc. So they wanted to remind the drivers that that should be their goal, even though ultimately I think the drivers heard that and said, you know what, we're going to race hard. And well, some of these guys didn't even make it through the first corner if you tuned in at the top of the broadcast. So as we come through, battles continue. Cody Perodotto, I tell you what, has closed up this gap to Cameron Dick to half a second. Eric Mack is within a second as well here as the lap traffic is taking away Cameron Dick's lead at the moment as he is going to try to just get the run now. But Cody Perodotto's in the mix. Eric Mack is in the mix. Patrick, this is going to be a hard-fought battle to the end.
Indeed, and as something we say on pretty much every Elbows Out broadcast, and something that would have definitely been my senior quote if I was here during my senior year of high school, traffic giveth and traffic taketh away, and I'm pretty sure we are seeing that here with Cameron Dick. His lead kind of got sawed into because of the traffic here on track. And this has been a fantastic race to watch. This honestly might be candidate for race of the season, which is a very high bar considering just the quality of the races and the quality of the drivers that are here at Elbows Out Racing. It is always so much fun to watch these drivers go around this track. And right now, Cameron Dick is probably having a ton of fun just in the front of the field. He's got a 1 second gap, or about roughly a 1 second gap, to Cody Perodotto behind. And here's the question is that I'm curious on what happened to Antonio Costa, because Costa had such a strong lead at the start of this race, and now he's down in 4th.
Yeah, I think for Antonio, just after the pit stop, just did not work for him near as well as he wanted. I mean, he had a good run, but I just don't think the pit stop cycle played in his favor as we ride on board here with Cody Perodotto, who is trying to chase down Cameron Dick. Cameron Dick trying to fight the GT3 traffic. If Perodotto can just get a good position here, I think he can be in a great position to really challenge. There it is. That's what he needed there. The 007 gets out of the way, and that is really what he needed there. Dayton McGuire dives to the inside. That's going to open things up. Cody Perodotto now with an 0.8 of a second and continuing to close as they go through. 1.8 seconds back to Eric Mack, though. Eric Mack, unfortunately, I think is going to be in a little bit worse of a position, worse for wear here to try to get this through, because it's clean track for the next little bit for our race leaders as they come around here. Battle continues along. In other classes, things have stabled out a little bit, I will say. 2.5 seconds between Chris Stewart and Rich Calais. Rich Calais, of course, in the Mustang, was able to fight his way past Nodwell into second place and has sort of stabilized. Christopher Ondera in the AM category. I want to make sure we show the AMs plenty of love here today. 17 minutes left to go here, and the gap between Ondera and Parker Chiapuzzo is only 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, so I mean, I know we've been mostly focusing on this GT3 Pro and the LMP2 battles because those have been very feisty. But this battle between the McLarens is looking pretty spicy, but also something that's very spicy is that's the only problem with the racing at Elbows Out Racing. There's always so many battles going on, it's hard to kind of pick where we want to take a look at, because Christopher Ondera and Parker Chiapuzzo are both really talented drivers. Cameron Dick and Cody Perodotto have had their race of their lives today here at Spa. And then obviously the battle with Chris Stewart, Rich Calais, Peter Nodwell has been a fantastic bout to watch too. So I mean, there's so many battles going on up and down this field that it's honestly amazing, and that's just the beauty of Elbows Out Racing here as we go through. Christopher Ondera now under a little bit of pressure from the fellow McLaren as they make their way through Les Combes and then into Malmedy, and it's a really good battle here. I mean, Chiapuzzo is really closing that gap in areas that normally you wouldn't really be able to close a gap, just because of the dirty air coming off the back of that McLaren up ahead. But credit to Chiapuzzo for sticking this close like peanut butter and jelly to the back of the number 79.
Yeah, I mean, battles continue on time and time again. I mean, they are not giving it up at all right now, which is so much fun to watch here, because I think this battle is going to continue to just get closer and closer to the end as it goes. A battle that's still getting closer and closer as we just kind of keep jumping back and forth right here. Cameron Dick, Cody Perodotto, that gap 0.3 of a second as Eric Mack takes a little bit of gravel there on the exit of the corner. Will lose a little bit of time, and Cody Perodotto losing a lot of time there. Again, that's that traffic taketh away moment as Christopher Ondera, 0.4 of a second now the gap between Ondera and Chiapuzzo as they go through. Seth Fosselman in third, a little bit farther behind there. So it really is the battle between these two that continues along and will continue to play its way and plague its way for them as they go through to the end here. Coming across the start-finish line, Cameron Dick and Cody Perodotto. There we go. Let me not mix up their names, although I probably could, and it'd be a little funny as they come around and gaps continue to battle. Things continue to go along here, and They'll have one more run up El Rouge into the Radion. Down the Kimmel Straight, they'll go yet again trying to battle things out as Chiapuzzo and Ondera. This is the closest they've been coming through the first corner all race long. Let's see if there's a run up El Rouge into Radion.
Yeah, Parker Chiapuzzo is going to try to go ahead and make this move. He's got a good slipstream, but I don't think he's got enough real estate. He's going to close that gap. Not quite enough to try to make the move into A Rouge. But as they exit Radion onto the Kimmel Straight, it's a very good run for Parker Chiapuzzo as he's going to try to get closer and closer. Is he going to be able to shake for a move? Let's see, he's going to think about a gap around the outside. He's going to be a bit later on the brakes, but just not quite enough to get this move done and dusted. But so far, it is still very close between these two. And Seth Vasselman, or no, I believe that's a different GT3 car behind. But Chiapuzzo is putting under pressure. Diamonds are made under pressure, but so are mistakes. So Christopher Ondera has got to be really careful here not to make a mistake at this stage of the race.
Yeah, check it back in with this LMP2 battle up front. Cody Perodato, Cameron Dick, they continue to battle things out here. 0.4 of a second separating them. That gap is flip-flopping time and time again between being within half a second and being outside of half a second. It really has not stabilized out, but this is the closest it's been into the bus stop in several laps. Let's see what happens here as we run down into the bus stop. Let's see here as they go. Cody Perodato, is he going to look for a lunge? He's going to come outside, and Cameron Dick will defend very late there in that 076. Holds on to the lead for now with Cody Perodato in second, but watch the return of the Mac. Mac coming through, but Mac is into the pits. 12 and a half minutes to go, and Eric Mack will have to make a pit stop here. And is that going to be telling for Perodato and Cameron Dick? Are they going to have to save fuel? Are they in a position where they cannot make it to the end right now, and it is all for nothing that they're fighting? What is happening here with the strategy as it goes? I don't know. I do not know. I'll tell you right now, Chiapuzzo and Ondera continue to battle, but Eric Mack might have possibly thrown his chance at a win away right then.
I wouldn't be so sure about that. I mean, if I had a magic 8-ball here to tell me how this battle between Perodato and Cameron Dick would go, I feel like they're going to make at least a slight touch at some point. It won't be to the same extent as we've seen other contact here throughout the night, but it has been very chaotic and very, very fun just to watch this race through each stage as Parker Chiapuzzo is going to go ahead and try to make this move. Is he got enough real estate? No, not quite.
Just enough room left between the two there. That is respectful racing there between those GT3 categories. And I believe the car that is behind them is actually going to be the... oh gosh, I just had who that was. That is the number 48 of Daniel Pinero, who is just behind them. So well out of the battle of that, actually a lap down in class. So Daniel Pinero just kind of sitting there, staying out of the way as we have the number 13 of Antonio Costa making his way through this traffic. This is going to kind of neutralize this battle for a second. But ahead, Cameron Dick, Cody Perodato, half a second, the gap between them. They continue to come through and along, and we'll see where they find things here. 10 minutes left to go in this 90 minutes of Spa event here tonight. This has been an absolute banger of a race. Again, I think this, Spa delivered the first time, and doggone if it doesn't deliver the second time here. Cameron Dick, Cody Perodato, they stay out another lap, but they are now on stint lap number 17. Are they running borrowed time at this point? What are they going to have to do in terms of things? What is Antonio Costa going to have to do? He's a lap behind them in terms of stint, and Kel Hagen is actually a lap ahead in terms of stint strategy. It's all to play for with 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, because you can never really count out strategy as a big factor in this race now. And another thing to consider is that, I mean, it's possible for Cameron Dick and Cody Perodato to go ahead and collide. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, anything can happen here in racing. I mean, there's still a good amount of time left to go in this track, so it's going to be very interesting. And I think now with that information, then Cody Peredato and Cameron Dick, with Eric Mack pitting in, they're really got to be super careful with their fuel and tires.
This is such a bad position to be in if I'm them. This is such a horrible position to be in. Right now, Parker Chiapuzzo putting down pressure on Christopher Ondera. Close as he's been, this time he's within about 0.2 of a second. He's going to look for something a little bit different this time. Maybe try a slightly different line, but you can see there how that caught off Daniel Pinero. Daniel Pinero was even faster than Chiapuzzo and Ondera in the entrance to the corner there. Wasn't able to make it stick. As right now, Cody Peredato has caught up Cameron Dick. Gap 0.2 of a second, continuing to close. Ondera, Chiapuzzo go side by side, and Ondera and Chiapuzzo will continue side by side here, going down into No Name. A little bit of a tap there as they come through. Chiapuzzo going to try to hold on against Ondera. Let's see what happens here as they head down into Puan, but at the moment it is Chiapuzzo who will stay behind Ondera by just a little bit. This GT3 AM battle has really come alive with 8.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think this is the spiciest we've seen the GTM category throughout tonight on the broadcast. It has been so much fun watching Parker Chiapuzzo and Christopher Ondera just fighting tooth and nail, trying to get these positions and trying to get the class win. I mean, this is indeed a very good battle for first place, as we see. But it looks like, I mean, the interesting thing is that the gap is almost under a second for every single category, with the exception of GT3 Pro. Even then, that one's only about 1.4 seconds between P1 and P2. So, I mean, right now, with just over 7.5 minutes left to go, this race is still all to play for every category. I mean, it is intense, because you really just can't predict what's going to happen with any kind of certainty. I mean, we know that Cameron Dick and Cody Peredato are going to fight tooth and nail to the end. Chiapuzzo and Ondera are going to fight tooth and nail to the end as they go into La Source. Is there going to be a dive? No, there is not. The experienced driver, Parker Chiapuzzo, and that is Eric Mack jumping ahead. I think that's getting past a lapped LMP2 car. No, that is actually the number 49 car, and now in P5 of Kjell Haugen. He gets the move done there. The fresher tires on Eric Mack's and number 19 Golf Aston Martin liveried LMP2 machine just makes another very strong pass. But I don't think that pace is going to be enough to catch Antonio Costa in the end, unless Costa has to make another pit stop.
Well, here's the thing with Eric Mack. He didn't take tires. He was only in the box for 11 seconds, so that is just a splash and dash there from the return of the Mack. Just enough to get some fuel and get going, which is all he really needed to do. And again, you know, he's got to run lap times. He's running good lap times, but the issue is he's 45 seconds off of the race lead right now. And 45 seconds, you don't have enough time in 6 minutes to make that up. So he might have put himself in a problem here, as Chiapuzzo down Puhan to the inside is going to try to make the move stick. Not able to make it stick. Parker Chiapuzzo, the desperation, I fear, is starting to set in. It's that push that is coming through as Eric Mack is now going to dive his way through past Daniel Pinero, and now is going to neutralize this battle between Chiapuzzo and Ondera for just a moment. We'll dive down the inside of Chiapuzzo. Chiapuzzo lets him go. Can Chiapuzzo use Mack as a run? And that is going to definitely end the battle there. Chiapuzzo with a snap of the rear end coming through, and that is that battle done and dusted. Christopher Ondera, you can breathe a little bit easier with 5.5 minutes to go.
Oh, that is such a heartbreaking end to such a fantastic battle between Parker Chiapuzzo and Christopher Ondera. Is now Colin Bourdon trying to jump into the podium positions now, chasing down what feels like his old rival just from the duration of this race in Peter Nodwell in that number 73 McLaren. And oh, here's a gaggle of cars. Rich Calais. Now we went from a GT3 AM fight for the lead to now a GT3 Pro fight for the lead, as Rich Calais is trying to get any kind of move done. Oh, look at this. The Porsche is going to try to send a move. He's going to try to get through. I don't think he's fighting for a position in this, unless, no, that is actually Chris Stewart. So he is definitely fighting for a position, trying to get past the lapped GT3 car and of Matthew Santosiero, a name I haven't seen in quite some time. But, I mean, right now, this is such a fantastic battle between all these drivers right now.
So here's the absolute mess that we have jumped into. So Santosiero, Shea Perkins are the Porsche and the white McLaren that are battling here, right? But then you have the overall, and that is a GT3 AM battle for position for P6. But then you have the overall GT3 Pro battle of Chris Stewart and Rich Calais that's gotten into this. And meanwhile, behind them, Nodwell and Colin Bourdon have kind of started to come up to the mix and catch up. So, I mean, talk about an absolute crapshoot of who's where to win what. I mean, that is literally where we're at. It's a literal crapshoot of I don't know who's going to be where, as Peridotto and Cameron Dick are both in the pits.
So Antonio Costa can very well inherit the lead here and inherit the win. So Eric Mack, he definitely played that strategy game right. But what do we see from Antonio Costa? Is he going to go ahead and make the pit stop now? Because if that's the case, then, I mean, Eric Mack just rolled the dice and just succeeded. He got a perfect 12. And the roll dice, and yes, there he is. Antonio Costa coming into the pits. Eric Mack is now going to make this stretch count. He's got to put foot to the floor, pedal to the metal, and he's got to give his best Sector 1 of all time, because the top three are in the pits now. Eric Mack is in a good spot to re-jump and retake this lead with 3.5 minutes left to go. They're spending a lot of time in the box, so I believe this might be brand new tires for Peridotto and Dick. So, I mean, I think they're just coming out of the pits. This is going to put Eric Mack right back into this battle. 8.4, 9.9, those are the pit times now. So let's see what's going to happen here. Cameron Dick is going to join back just in the lead, but it brought Eric Mack a lot closer.
Eric Mack now in a podium place there. Here is what I'm really interested in seeing. Where is that gap between him and the lead? 5 seconds to find in 2 minutes. Is it doable? I don't know. Because here's the thing is, I mean, they had shorter pit stops, but they still are going to have to, they still have to kind of get up to speed. Eric Mack, what do you have in the tank right now? What can you get away with as they do that? Chris Stewart and Rich Calais battling things out for the win in GT3 Pro. Gap 0.2 of a second through bus stop. They're figuring that out. Colin Bourdon trying to have a dive on Peter Nodwell, trying to get this run through for the podium paying places, and we'll have that run so close. Ladies and gentlemen, YouTube chat, give me your answer right now. Does Eric Mack have enough in the tank to overcome a 5-second gap to Cameron Dick in just 1.5 minutes of racing? What should be this lap plus possibly one more?
As much as I've learned to never doubt Eric Mack, I'm going to have to give him a little bit of doubt here. Cameron Dick and Cody Peridotto, in particular Cameron, has been really quick today. So I think in general, Cameron has got this race done and dusted. If he doesn't make a mistake, it doesn't get inside of his own head and just create an unforced error, I think the top three and probably the entirety of this LMP2 category are going to finish the way they are now. One that's a bit more uncertain is Chris Stewart and Rich Calais. This one could go anyway, because Rich is doing excellent work in that Mustang. Chris Stewart is doing excellent in that McLaren just up ahead. And I mean, these two have been fighting for quite a while now too. They fought multiple times throughout the 90 minutes we've been going here on this track. And anything is possible here, because this will be the last lap for the GT3s. That is for certain. So it's really make or break time here for Rich Calais, as he's going to try to shake for a move. Chris Stewart's closing the store. He does not want any Girl Scout cookies, and he's going to keep the lead.
Yeah, coming through. And I mean, all you need to do at this point is just defend as hard as you possibly can. Kel Hagen into the pits there on the final lap. That is heartbreaking, as all get out for Kel Hagen coming through. Let's see where Cameron Dick is coming down through into No Name. So final lap now underway here as Chris Stewart still defending from Rich Calais. That is a Randy Kenny who is actually trying to get through for overall position. And what happens here? Rich Calais will try to have a dive to the inside here, coming down through the bus stop, cannot get through. Final lap is on the board here. Will they have one more lap to go, or will Barney show them the checkered flag this time by? It's white flag, one more lap of defending coming for Rich Calais over Chris Stewart over Rich Calais, and for Nodwell over Bourdon, it is one more lap of defense. This is a nail-biting battle here in GT3 Pro. Rich Calais has one more run down the Kimmel Straight to try to get this pass done. Can he do it here as we look? Where is Cameron Dick at the moment? Cameron Dick, I believe, if I am right, is coming down towards the bus stop. So let's jump in with Cameron Dick really quick. Not with the safety car. Cameron Dick coming down the bus stop here. We'll catch here Cameron Dick coming across the line. What a hard-fought battle he's had against Cody Perodato, against Mac, against Costa, and he will win the 90 minutes here at Spa in elbows out. But let's not forget this battle that's happening. Chris Stewart, Rich Calais continue to battle through. This is your GT3 Pro battle that has not settled out yet, still going through as they come down through Brussels, going down towards No Name. I mean, this is getting ridiculous.
This is fantastic is what it is. I mean, right now, you have Rich Calais really just trying to get every ounce of horsepower through that Mustang, trying to get everything done as Christopher Ondera is going to take the checker flag. He'll become the class winner in GT3 AM, but we don't know how the GT3 Pro class is going to do. It is less than 0.3 of a second now between Chris Stewart and Rich Calais making their way through, fighting tooth and nail, trying to keep that gap. If you are Chris Stewart and you're trying to reduce that gap, if you're Rich Calais, they are making their way through now, through Stavelot, and now making the run to the Cobra Paul Ferret. I probably mispronounced that, but the more important thing here is the absolutely intense battle here. Chris Stewart, I think he might have it, just really depends on the bus stop. Rich Calais is going to have to make a very late-breaking move into the bus stop, but there's a traffic car just up ahead. Is there going to be space to make a move? Gets out of the way, but I think that pretty much just sealed the deal. And unless something drastic happens here, it's going to be run down to the line. But I think Chris Stewart, by the skin of his teeth, is going to have the win here in the GT3 Pro category. But man, what a battle that was.
It's very rare that a race leaves me absolutely speechless, but that is what I have found here as we wait for the last of the GT3 Pros to cross the line here. Martin Merkba being the last one here in that Red Bull paint-schemed McLaren. Brings it across the line. That was an intense 90-minute race. Goodness me. Wow.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite Spa races of all time. That was absolutely fantastic. I'm pretty sure so far here in Elbows Out Racing this season, this is definitely got to be race of the year. What a drive from all of these drivers.
41 laps down and everyone goes home in the same condition they arrived, 90 here. Brought to you by International Decorators Inc. with Elbows Out Racing. And it was Cameron Dick who pulled the win by 3.3 seconds with late race strategy coming in, waiting to pit with one lap to go and pitting through. Cody Perodato in second place. Return of Eric Mack, but it's not the return to the win. It's a P3. Antonio Costa in fourth. Malik Bass in fifth. Aiden Garcia, P6. Kel Hagen, P7. Bob Carey down a lap in eighth. Randy Kenny in P9. Hugo Ortiz in P10. And then that was all of your LMP2 category drivers. GT3 Pro, how they finished out. Well, it was Chris Stewart who had the top spot there by Rich Calais, a tenth of a second back. We watched that battle of the line. That was a ridiculous final, like 30 minutes between those two. Peter Nodwell in third, Colin Bourdon in fourth, Julius Mashevsky in P5, Zachary Nerney in sixth with a good recovery drive, Martin Merck for P7, Paul Nye, the boss man, in P number 8, Brian Metterly, P9, Emily Milkey, P10, P10, Mike Sermon. P11, Tyler Stenick. We saw his heartbreak early on. P12, Joe Bandera. P13, Jordan Scarrett in 14th. In the GT3 AM category, your winner is Christopher Ondera by 2.3 seconds over Parker Chiapuzzo, but a great extended battle they had until one moment there from Chiapuzzo trying to give traffic the room to get through. Seth Bosselman in third, Jonathan Lanton in P4, Nathan Hemperly in fifth, Matthew Sancher-Sierra P6, Shea Perkins P7, Benjamin Bechtel in eighth, Ethan Murphy and Daniel Pinero round out your top 10. And from there, it was Cardona, Keyser, Moore, Hibbs, Woodman C, McGuire, Tyler C in P17, Graham Lewis, Jake Glazer, Ryan Geckler, down 40 laps on the day. And that was the 20 cars that took on GT3 AM. That was the 44 cars in total that took on this Circuit de Spa Francorchamps as it comes through. Tell you what, Patrick, do we have our winner ready to be interviewed? Are they here? Are they available? Is Cameron floating around anywhere?
Yes, he is.
I'll tell
And
you what.
I am going to go ahead and pull him right on in here.
Yeah, let's let you have a word here with Cameron, see how he's feeling about a win.
He was here for a moment, but I think there's a... Oh, there he is. Cameron, I mean, a hard-fought race, man. How do you feel about that one?
Man, I feel like the GT3s hate me. Yeah, I had some pretty aggressive moves, but I think it was required to get in the lead there. As you saw, like in the pits, like on that last pit stop, I ran out of fuel, so he like closed 2/10 in the pit lane, but he got an extra liter, so I was still out before him. But yeah, that was a close race.
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment where you had a very late-breaking move to try to jump into the lead before that last round of pit stops. I mean, you had to fight tooth and nail throughout the entirety of the race. But overall, how do you feel your race pace was today?
I think like I qualified P4, which I was pretty happy with. Like it's a good spot to be in, but I knew from the start that I wasn't gonna have the best pace. So I kind of just stuck with the strategy and tried to play the long game. But yeah, the pace was okay. It could be. I hope it's better next time. But it was good enough for the win, I guess. So we'll take it.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, you had a very good drive today. I mean, it seemed like your pace was on like a very high level, especially on that last stint there. So I only have about 2 more questions left for you. And first and foremost, we are just exiting round 4 of the season now, and we are heading to a very interesting track next time around. We're heading to the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, also known as Mosport. How do you feel about this track?
Yeah, I actually just bought it like a day ago or something, and so I was giving it a try in the LMP3 for like the sports car clash, and it's interesting, and I think that'll be a very difficult one to multi-class. There's a lot of good straights and stuff, but then overtaking in those corners, it's going to be a little bit sketchy, I think.
All right, last but most certainly not least, before we let you go, anybody you want to shout out or thank before we let you go?
Just my family, I guess, and then just all the guys at Pole Racing. Been a big help to improving me by a lot. So yeah, also, I guess also all my guys on ACC that I used to race with. That's kind of how I got here. So yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for jumping in here. Congratulations on the race win today, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Cameron. And now that we've talked to our race winner, let's talk to someone who had a good contested fight there, Chris Stewart, if he is around and available. And I do see Chris Stewart hanging out, waiting to speak. Chris Stewart, welcome in. First of all, I don't know if you're ever going to want to see a Ford Mustang again after the battle you had with Rich Calais there through the final laps. Kind of talk me through, especially that last lap.
You know, at the end of the day, man, Rich had so much pace through this whole race, and he was just so consistent, man. Like I felt like I had the Terminator following me through, this beautiful track we call Spa. So hats off to him. Like he didn't put a foot wrong for a really long time, and definitely made me work for every inch of of the finish of that race, which came down to just over a tenth of a second.
Man, it was so much fun to watch. When you have drivers like that, that are behind you, Chris, that I mean, are just absolutely putting the pressure on. How do you keep the car together and not, overdrive or maybe just have a, kind of self-caused spin and lose out on the battle?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it, honestly, is just experience. Like I've been in so many races, been doing iRacing for such a long period of time. I don't want to come across and say I'm used to it, but like at the end of the day, you kind of get used to it eventually. But it was still one of those things like tons of pressure. He played it perfectly and really made it for a phenomenal, really last 30 minutes of the race. I mean, I think we were within about 3 seconds after we both cycled through pit stops for the last, 25 to 30 minutes. And he just literally, a tenth by lap. And I think there was one instance where I made a mistake where he gained maybe like 7/10, maybe even a second. But for the rest of that, it was literally just getting me a tenth at a time. So I'd see his lap, I'd try to put one down. He'd match me. It was pretty awesome, quite honestly.
Awesome, man. And looking forward to next week, how are we feeling? What do you think is going to happen at Mossport?
Man, we're just gonna get up in Canada. We're gonna rip that thing like a bald eagle, and we're just gonna have a great time, man. Motorsport's definitely not one of my strongest tracks, but we're gonna do our best, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. My teammate's Canadian, so I'd like to think that gives us like +10 on the +10 out there in terms of skill points, and so hopefully that translates over to me, and we'll get after it.
Awesome, Chris. Well, congratulations, man. Awesome to get to chat with you here in the booth. And hopefully we'll be chatting with you again next week. Good luck.
Yep. Appreciate it, guys.
All right. And now let's grab real quickly for a word our GT3 AM winner. And that is going to be one Mr. Christopher Ondera. Let's bring Christopher Ondera up in here to the booth. I tell you what, man, that was a hard-fought battle between you and Parker Chiapuzzo. We talked about the battle in GT3 Pro, but man, that battle in GT3 AM did not let up either. How'd you feel having Parker battling with you there behind?
Man, my heart was absolutely racing. He was right on me. After we left Eau Rouge, I mean, he had the straight line speed. I took the middle lane every time, tried to defend. He fought me tooth and nail. That was an excellent end to the race, for sure.
Man, it was so much fun to watch going through there. That McLaren seemed to be under you and really have it together. Was there ever a point where you didn't feel like you were going to win the race?
Well, at the beginning of the race, I would say like in the first lap, I believe, Jonathan Lanton, he overtook me on the cold tires. And he pulled away. So I don't know what happened to him, but me and my teammate, Ethan Murphy, we were definitely having a little talk about how we could catch up to him. And then before I knew it, he was gone. So he must have had an unfortunate incident.
I believe he did. We might have seen it on the broadcast. I'll have to go back and double check after the stream and see here. Looking ahead, how do you feel about next week?
I do not feel great. I've only done some practice. I've never actually raced there, but we shall see.
Awesome. Well, man, Christopher, it was awesome to get to catch up with you again here in the booth. We'll see what happens next week. And man, congratulations on such an awesome win.
Thank you. I need to say everyone goes home alive and in the same condition as they arrived. Your loved ones count on it.
Awesome, man. Christopher, thank you so much. Congratulations again, and we'll catch up with you later, man.
Cool.
All right, Patrick, I tell you what, that is one heck of a race here today here in Elbows Out Racing. Any final thoughts before we send this one off into the sunset?
Definite contender for race of the season. And I think the next race is going to be interesting because the drivers that we talked to didn't really seem too confident when we head to Canada next week. So it'll be an interesting race. So you guys will definitely want to check it out.
Absolutely. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that way you can be here. Tomorrow night, it is the Area Pro Series. Sunday night, it will be Triple Bypass Racing. And then, of course, Tuesday night. Well, actually, no, next week we're off with Area. So you will have Triple Bypass Racing on Sunday. That will then get us to Tuesday night to Wednesday night next week, where we will be back for CTMP. But that is going to be all from this broadcast here for the 90 minutes of Spa. On behalf of everyone here that makes this league happen, on behalf of Patrick joining me in the booth, my name is Brad. We've taken you start to finish. Be sure to join us for the next one, where we'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night.